Okay, so here's a quick video about something I was teaching a student last night, which is extremely useful, comes up a lot on GCSE Maths, talking about ratios, equivalent ratios, and how to use equivalent ratios to solve problems. So, equivalent ratios. Now, equivalent ratios are very much the same as equivalent fractions. So if you know how to do equivalent fractions, you can create equivalent ratios as well. So for instance, let's say we have the ratio 6 to 14. We can create an equivalent ratio by multiplying both parts of the ratio by the same thing or dividing both parts of the ratio by the same thing. And so, for instance, if we were going to simplify this ratio, you want to divide it as much as you can. And we can see that 2 goes into both of these. So we can divide both parts by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 14 divided by 2 is 7. And 3 and 7 have no common factors, so we can't simplify it anymore. And this is our fully simplified ratio. But it's equivalent to the original ratio, 6 to 14. So these two ratios mean the same thing. But I will also want to point out that we can change the ratio in another way by multiplying both parts. So let's say we want to multiply by 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 14 times 5 is 70. And then we have a new ratio, 30 to 70. And these three ratios are all equivalent to each other, and they all mean the same thing in the sense that equivalent fractions all mean the same thing. Now let me show you how we can use this method of equivalent ratios to solve problems. So if I just take a question here out of my textbook. For a class of pupils, the ratio of blue eyes to brown eyes is 2 to 3. If 8 pupils have blue eyes, how many pupils have brown eyes? So, if we make a ratio blue to brown, the question tells us they're in the ratio 2 to 3. But in the class, there are 8 pupils with blue eyes. So that means we need to have an 8 in the blue column. And we just learned that we can create an equivalent fraction by multiplying both parts of the ratio by the same thing. So we can see that to get from 2 to 8, we need to multiply by 4. So we need to do the same thing on the brown side. 3 times 4 is 12. So that means if there are 8 pupils with blue eyes in the class, and the ratio is 2 to 3, there must be 12 pupils with brown eyes. So you take your starting ratio and you multiply it by whatever you need to reach the number in the question, and then the value on the other side will tell you how many people with, in this case, brown eyes you have. And that's how you can use equivalent fractions to solve reasoning questions. If you have any questions, put it in the comments, let me know.